Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson, and this week, a brief extract from the travels of Sir John Mandeville. Sir John Mandeville didn't exist. We don't know who really wrote his book. We do know that they tacked it together from previous travel journals. Most of it is highly dubious, but in Ars Magica, there's a little section that works really well as an infernal aura. Now over to John Moore, who released this recording into the public domain. Thanks to him and to his production team, and to everyone at LibriVox.
Beside that Isle of Misterac, upon the left side, nigh to the river of Pison, is a marvellous thing. There is a vale between the mountains that dureth nigh a 4 mile, and some men cleep it the Vale Enchanted, some cleep it the Vale of Devils, and some cleep it the Vale Perilous. In that vale hear men oftentime great tempests and thunders, and great murmurs and noises, all days and nights, and great noise as it were sound of tabors, and of nakers, and of trumps, as though it were of a great feast. This vale is all full of devils, and hath been always, and men say there that it is one of the entries of hell. In that vale is great plenty of gold and silver, wherefore many misbelieving men, and many Christian men also, go in oftentime for to have of the treasure that there is, but few come again, and namely of the misbelieving men, ne of the Christian men neither, for anon they be strangled of devils. And in mid place of that vale, under a rock, is an head and the visage of a devil bodily, full horrible and dreadful to see, and it showeth not but the head to the shoulders. But there is no man in the world so hardy, Christian man ne other, but that he would be adread to behold it, and that it would seem him to die for dread, so is it hideous for to behold. For he beholdeth every man so sharply with dreadful eyen that be evermore moving and sparkling as fire, and changeth and stirreth so often in divers manner, with so horrible countenance, that no man dare not nighen towards him. And from him cometh out smoke and stinking fire, and so much abomination, that aneatha no man may there endure. But the good Christian men that be stable in the faith enter well without peril, for they will first shrive them, and mark them with the token of the Holy Cross, so that the fiends ne have no power over them. But albeit that they be without peril, yet natheless ne be they not without dread, when that they see the devils visibly and bodily all about them, that make full many diverse assaults and menaces in air and in earth, and aghast them with strokes of thunder blasts and of tempests. And the most dread is that God will take vengeance then of that men have misdone against his will. And ye shall understand that when my fellows and I were in that vale, we were in great thought whether that we durst put our bodies in adventure to go in or not, in the protection of God. And some of our fellows accorded to enter, and some not. So there were with us 2 worthy men, friars minors, that were of Lombardy, that said that if any man would enter, they would go in with us. And when they had said so, upon the gracious trust of God and of them, we let sing mass, and made every man to be shriven and houseled. And then we entered 14 persons, but at our going out we were but 9. And so we wist never whether that our fellows were lost, or else turned again for dread. But we saw them never after, and those were 2 men of Greece, and 3 of Spain. And our other fellows that would not go in with us, they went by another coast to be before us, and so they were. And thus we passed that perilous vale, and found therein gold and silver, and precious stones, and rich jewels great plenty, both here and there, as us seemed. But whether that it was, as us seemed, I wot never, for I touched none, because that the devils be so subtle to make a thing to seem otherwise than it is, for to deceive mankind. And therefore I touched none, and also because that I would not be put out of my devotion. For I was more devout then than ever I was before or after, and all for the dread of fiends that I saw in divers figures, and also for the great multitude of dead bodies that I saw there lying by the way, by all the vale, as though there had been a battle between two kings, and the mightiest of the country, and that the greater part had been discomfited and slain. And I trow that unnethe should any country have so much people within him as lay slain in that vale as us thought, the which was an hideous sight to see. And I marvelled much that there were so many, and the bodies all whole without rotting. But I trow that fiends made them seem to be so whole without rotting. But that might not be to mine advice that so many should have entered so newly, ne so many newly slain, without stinking and rotting. And many of them were in habit of Christian men. But I trow well that it were such that went in for covetous of the treasure that was there, and had overmuch feebleness in the faith, so that their hearts ne might not endure in the belief for dread. And therefore were we the more devout a great deal. And yet we were cast down, and beaten down many times to the hard earth by winds and thunders and tempests, but evermore God of his grace holp us, and so we passed that perilous vale, without peril and without encumbrance, thanked be Almighty God.
Your saga may vary.